sheep, that the sheep come down the hill and down the field in a nice straight line to the handler's feet. We can send our dogs up either side of the field, clockwise or counterclockwise. Probably most folks today will do like yesterday and send their dogs counterclockwise, as Fiona has just done. It's a 6-minute course, and the clock started when Tap left Fiona's side. And we want to see these Border Collies cast out in a wide semicircle and come in behind the sheep, just as Tap has done there. And we will be communicating with the dogs using verbal and whistle commands. If you watch the dogs respond and listen to the whistles, you can almost figure out what a lot of them mean. But we basically have 5 basic commands telling the dog to stop or to move toward the sheep. 2 flanking commands that tells the dogs to go clockwise or counterclockwise around the stock. And there are many variations of those commands and whistles. The fetch is ending now, and they will turn the sheep in a clockwise direction around the cone and begin the drive portion of the course, which is worth 30 points of the 100. And again, we're looking for nice straight lines from the cone right to the middle of those drive panels out there. And Maria Mick will take deductions if the sheep are off of that imaginary straight line, and the further from the line they go, probably the more points will come off. If the sheep miss the panels, that will also result in the point deduction. And no reattempts are allowed once the sheep pass the panels. Looks like things are going very well so far here. Border Collies actually need to be taught to drive. They're gathering dogs by instinct, and that's what they've been bred to do for many, many years, ever since the breed was developed. Gathering is what they do naturally and instinctively, but driving the sheep away, that goes against their instinct. So we have to take our time and convince them that it's okay to do that. And Tap is working very well with Fiona here, trying to hold that nice straight line. You can see the dog isn't behind the sheep now, she's off to the side, and that's because the sheep would like to come down here to the right-hand corner of the field, which is where our pen is. After the sheep are done with their run, we put them in a pen down here in the shade. Typically, for most of the handlers and dogs, you'll see one loud whistle means stop. And not all dogs lie down when they stop. Some of them stop on their feet. Some of them never stop, they just slow way down. Very nice drive work here. Now it's a straight line from that right-hand white panel, but the sheep just turned around to the cone where Fiona is standing. And our judge did tell us at the handler's meeting she'd like to see the sheep pass on our side of the cone. And then once we get to the chute, we can choose either side to take a rope. Once we pick up the rope, we have to stay on that side and try and convince these 3 sheep to go through a chute. And this is the same type of work you do at home if you had sheep and you had to foot bath them or treat them. A lot of times you put sheep into a chute where you can work on them one at a time. They can't struggle and get away from you. Chute is worth 10 points if it's done perfectly. And that's a decision our judge makes. Very nicely done. Now the last part of the course is called the shed. It's basically just sorting sheep. It's worth 10 points, and it's probably the most difficult part of the course, for the simple reason that the sheep really want to stay together, and also Border Collies have been bred to keep sheep together.
Hey, Mama.
Well, now we're going to test the dog's ability to sort one sheep off of the group.
Okay.
And this is handy to do at home on the farm if you have a sheep that for some reason needs to go back to the barn, might have gotten caught in the fence and gotten ripped, or needs to be vetted for some reason. If you and your dog can separate that sheep and walk it back to the farm, it's a lot easier than bringing out an ATV. Now there she called the dog in, but the sheep regrouped, and that will result in a little bit of a point deduction off those 10 points available. And there's an imaginary circle which goes from the chute to the cone, and there's some piles of hay out there that might be hard for the spectators to see, but the handlers know where it is. She's just about in the middle of the area that was designated. She's going to let a few sheep go, and there the dog comes in, and we want to see it take control. The single, very nice. And that's a full run for Fiona Robertson and Tap, down from Quebec. Fiona has another dog. We'll be seeing her a little later in the trial. Many of the handlers at this level run more than one dog. There is always the element of what we call the luck of the draw, which means that the 3 sheep that come out of that pen at the top at random, they could just be real troublemakers. They might be sheep that don't want to stay together. They might be sheep that don't want to cooperate with the dog. And if you run more than one dog, and people travel a long way. Fiona's all the way down here from Quebec. Many people spend a lot of hours on the road to get to dog trials.